Silence. All stand. The proclamation. All persons having any business before this honourable court now draw nigh, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Queen.
Admission of lawyers. Caitlin Elizabeth Angus.
May it please the court, I move that Caitlin Elizabeth Angus be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Caitlin Elizabeth Angus be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Bernard Justin Cheng.
May it please the court, I move that my son-in-law, Bernard Justin Chang, be admitted to practice as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Bernard Justin Cheng be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Judith Ann Coburn.
May it please the court, I move that Judith Ann Cockburn be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Judith Ann Coburn be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Thomas Damon.
May it please the court, I move that Thomas Damon be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Thomas Damon be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alice Layla Fenton.
May it please the court, I move that Alice Layla Fenton be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Alice Layla Fenton be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Sharon Ann Jackson.
May it please the court, I move that Sharon Jackson be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Sharon Ann Jackson be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Chen Ji.
May it please the court, I move that Chen Ji be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Chen Ji be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Talia Eleanor Baker Mason.
May it please the court, I move that Talia Eleanor Baker Mason be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Talia Eleanor Baker Mason be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Luke Allen McCarroll.
May it please the court, I move that Luke Allen McCarroll be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Luke Allen McCarroll be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Samantha Lee Moon.
May it please the court, I move that Samantha Moon be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Samantha Lee Moon be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Abby Lee O'Connell.
May it please the court, I move that Abby Lee O'Connell be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Abby Lee O'Connell be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alexander William Roney.
May it please the court, I move that Alexander William Roney be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Alexander William Roney be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Aaron Gareth James Ryan.
May it please the court, I move that Aaron Gareth James Ryan be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Aaron Gareth James Ryan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Indersheel Satya.
May it please the court, I move that Indersheel Satya be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Indersheel Satya be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jonathan Michael Struggles.
May it please the court, I move that my husband, Jonathan Michael Struggles, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jonathan Michael Struggles be admitted as a lawyer of this court. It will be necessary for the purpose of an oath or affirmation that all those being admitted today please stand up but remain in your current places. Will all the admittees please stand?
Caitlin Elizabeth Angus. Bernard Justin Cheng. Judith Ann Coburn. Thomas Damon. Alice Layla Fenton. Sharon Ann Jackson. Chen Ji. Talia Eleanor Baker Mason. Luke Allen McCarroll. Samantha Lee Moon. Abby Lee O'Connell. Alexander William Roney. Aaron Gareth James Ryan. Indersheel Satya. Jonathan Michael Struggles. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability. Would you please say, "So help me God," or "I do"? Would you please be seated?
Now that the formal part of the proceedings has ended, I'd like to warmly welcome you to the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Present with me on the bench today is Justice Hume to my right and Justice Wilson to my left. Each of their honours are members of the Common Law Division of the Court. Together, we constitute the Court that has, in the exercise of its jurisdiction, admitted you to practice. As we gather here today, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We recognise the long-standing and enduring customs and traditions of Australia's First Nations and acknowledge with deep regret the role our legal system has played in perpetrating many injustices against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. To all the new lawyers here today, welcome to the legal profession. Today is a day for celebration. You have all worked extremely hard to get here, through caffeine-fuelled nights and obscure problem questions, reading countless wafer-thin pages of textbooks and more cases than you can hope to remember. Rest assured, those with a bibliophobia, that is fear of running out of reading material, as lawyers that fear will never materialise. You have entered the world of eggshell skulls, encountered the mysterious reasonable person, and have understood that the Constitution consists of so much more than just the vibe of the thing. In becoming a lawyer, you have today joined a centuries-old profession with ancient origins. The custom of advocates swearing an admissions oath dates back to the 12th century. This court first admitted lawyers to practice in 1824, and by 1830 the name of lawyers were entered onto rolls in this state. You have now become part of this tradition almost 200 years later. Perhaps for some of you and your family and friends, that is how long it feels like you've been studying. On that note, I'm also pleased to welcome those with you today or watching on the live stream. For many of you, the support of your family and friends has been invaluable. No doubt they've also often been on the receiving end of your finely polished skills of argument and persuasion. I do hope you take the time to thank them today. The oath or affirmation you have made today is a serious one and deserves solemn regard. Whether you work in private practice, at the bar, in a community legal centre or an entirely different field, you should be known for your honesty, your integrity and your commitment to justice. It is in acknowledgement of this weighty responsibility that we observe today's formalities in this unique fashion, including the moving of lawyers, swearing of oaths, and even our somewhat unusual choice of fashion. On a lighter note, on one occasion some years ago, a young member of the audience asked if we were doing Santa photos after the ceremony. Regrettably, we were not. However, although we mark this occasion with formality and tradition, not everything in the legal profession remains unchanging. You'll be unsurprised to hear that last year we had to adapt quite a bit. COVID-19 meant a rapid shift to increased use of virtual courtroom setups and technology to ensure access to justice continued in the midst of a pandemic. Things didn't always go smoothly, as those with me on the bench can undoubtedly attest to. There have been real difficulties to grapple with in terms of open justice, effective communication and fairness to participants. And occasionally a lawyer might even get stuck behind a Zoom kitten filter. But for all the challenges we faced, the impetus is greater than ever before for us to prioritise flexibility and accessibility. Better use of technology and increased working from home arrangements have profound implications for how our legal system interacts with many people, including those in rural and remote areas, those with a disability, medical conditions or carers' responsibilities. As the newest members of the profession, you're at the forefront of innovation in the law and have a unique opportunity to see through changes so that justice is done openly and equitably. There are, of course, other changes that deserve attention. When we think of the diversity of the legal profession, we encounter the duality that we have come very far and that much still needs to be done. Though women were not originally permitted to practice, since 2018, women have made up more than half of all the solicitors with a practising certificate in New South Wales and currently make up 63% of solicitors under the age of 30. Women occupy many of the most senior positions in the law, including, of course, the Chief Justice of Australia. However, women continue to face challenges of representation, including among judges of this court and, for example, among barristers in speaking roles before the High Court. It is heartening to see that the local court of New South Wales has almost achieved gender parity amongst magistrates, but we must not be complacent about these issues. There are other noticeable diversity concerns that we must face head-on. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and people from diverse cultural backgrounds continue to be alarmingly underrepresented in the legal profession, and particularly within the judiciary and the ranks of senior counsel. We must also be alert to barriers to the profession for people from less privileged backgrounds. Law should not be a profession for the wealthy, and the idea that students may be dissuaded from studying law by the cost of a law degree, which this year has again increased, or because of other systemic issues, is troubling. Not just this, but we will only achieve a truly diverse profession when barriers to advancement are broken down and people from different backgrounds are properly supported in a collegiate and inclusive environment free from harassment and discrimination. These issues are fundamental to a just and transparent legal system and to the legitimacy of the rule of law. We need diverse representation amongst advocates and judges so that all people who become involved in our justice system can be properly heard and fairly engaged with by a system reflective of our broader community. Despite these challenges, there is real scope for change. There is a far greater diversity of background amongst junior lawyers than those who have been around for as long as me, and you only need to look around this courtroom and then at the paintings on the wall to see that this is so. You're in a unique position as new lawyers who are entering the profession at a time when more than ever your words and actions are having an impact for good. You're being heard and taken seriously when you agitate to correct injustices, whether it be speaking out about unsustainable working cultures, sexual harassment or bullying within the profession, unfair laws or systemic failings affecting our society's most vulnerable. I urge you to continue to speak up for these things. They do matter. You are the future of the profession and will steer the direction it will take. As a lawyer, you will also need to make difficult ethical decisions at times. With regard to our personal characteristics, lawyers have been the butt of jokes for centuries. Some would say there are, of course, only a few lawyer jokes. The rest are true stories. Jokes aside, you must use the tools you have developed to think critically and not compromise on your fundamental duties to the court and the administration of justice and other ethical duties you must uphold. Now that you are lawyers, you can get paid to argue instead of just arguing for free. Of course, there is a lot more to it than that. You are an advisor, a problem solver, a mediator, and an advocate for the marginalised. As you go about your day-to-day work, remember that you're not merely dealing with the law in a vacuum as a series of abstract concepts, but law as it applies to people's lives. For this reason, you must strive to deliver legal services competently and fearlessly with courtesy and integrity. Justice Gageler, before he was a High Court judge, once said, "You must be prepared to give the same answer to the same questions for the same reasons, no matter who asks the question or for what purpose or in what context the asking may occur." This is foundational for upholding the rule of law. For those of you who will practice law, the way you communicate information to others will have profound consequences for access to justice. For a non-lawyer, law is often incomprehensible. One of your roles as a lawyer will be to make law accessible to others, sometimes by deciphering legal complexities, other times by deciphering poor legal drafting, and sometimes both. One thing you will regularly regrettably strike throughout your career is legislation which seems to be carefully crafted with the object of ensuring that no one can understand it. Your task is not just to understand it, but to explain it clearly to those whose rights and interests are affected by it. As lawyers, we must not keep the law locked up as something knowable only to us. A client reading your advice should be empowered to understand your meaning, not mystified and confused. So be clear and concise in your writing and your speaking. Plain English is powerful. Consider, do I really need to say aforementioned or herewith? Must I sprinkle in that Latin phrase, my pet haters mutatis mutandis? Should I really use double negatives, tautologies, and wordy clauses that take up a whole page? I would suggest the answer to those questions is invariably no. The best advocates can make their points simply and succinctly. Now, I accept that some of the most experienced lawyers and judges can often do with that reminder, but don't pick up their bad habits. I also want to speak about failure. I would not be surprised if there were quite a few overachievers and perfectionists in the room today. Even so, at various points of your career, you will make mistakes, some minor, some more serious. When you do make mistakes, your commitment to honesty, integrity and the administration of justice means that you must take responsibility, correct what you can and learn from those errors. You must fail at times in order to grow. I myself have made many mistakes over the years, far too many to remember. Even as Chief Justice, my decisions have on occasions been successfully appealed to the High Court. At those points of time, I'm obliged to hold my breath and tell myself that the High Court is never wrong. But in fact, even dissenting High Court judgments sometimes become the law. Finally, I want to emphasise that your mental health is extremely important. Now, this may sound unexpected at this type of ceremony, but the law is not everything. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed, burnt out or distressed. If you do, you should not be afraid to seek professional help or to take a step back when you need to. Also remember that the law is a collegiate profession, and in times of difficulties, the support of your peers will prove invaluable. Although you might find it hard to believe, I was admitted quite a long time ago. I lost my first case and I lost many more after that. But throughout my 35 years in practice, I could always count on the other barristers in my chambers to share my disappointment at the unfairness of the verdict, the sly tactics of opposing counsel, and most often, I regret to say, the obtuseness of the judge or judges before whom I was appearing. I hasten to add that I do not include any of my fellow judges on the bench in that comment. On behalf of all the judges of the Supreme Court, can I once again congratulate you on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The Court will now adjourn.
All stand.